We on Fire Sports Podcast, The Spot, season number 4, episode number 8, and we are here at the weekend. Hope you guys had a great week. First and foremost, man, I hope everybody is safe out there. Know there was a hurricane situation in the southeast, which I'm presently in the southeast, and we've not had the greatest weather ever, man. So I hope everybody is safe and secure, especially in that part of the country. So I'll start off there. As I mentioned, man, we're finally at the weekend. Hope you guys are able to sit back and enjoy what we got on the sporting landscape across this weekend. And this is what I call a farewell intro. First, I will start off. As you guys know, the Major League Baseball season is coming towards an end, as we got some good races going on as far as the wild card is concerned, division and so forth, and we'll take a in-depth look at that, more so in-depthly in the next episode. But we had some disheartening news, man, something that we already knew that was on the forefront, especially if you're a baseball fan, man, as the Oakland A's finally played their last baseball game in Oakland, and they actually had a sellout, man. And just looking back on it, man, I just feel real bad for the city of Oakland. They've lost not only the Oakland A's, but the Raiders moved to Las Vegas, both of these organizations, and people who haven't not been to Oakland and to the Bay Area, missing a treat, man. Just great people out there, man. A great atmosphere out there. And, I really feel bad for the city of Oakland, man, losing 2 Major League Baseball franchises. Two professional sports franchises, with the A's, a couple years ago with the Raiders. And it's just part of business, man. Part of big business. And I hope Oakland maybe is able to get another professional sports team at some point. But definitely, man, shout out to the fans that came out, man, to bid farewell to the Oakland A's, man, and, the classy organization as far as their history is concerned. Going back, I know for me, definitely in that great stretch that they had in the 80s with, McGuire and Canseco and Tony La Russa and, Ricky Henderson coming over and Dave Stewart. This is a team that, they had a 4-year stretch where they were the best team in baseball, even though they was only able to win one World Series championship. And so, like I said, this team and organization moving forward over to Las Vegas, man, but I definitely feel sad for the city of Oakland. Also on farewell tip, this is news that I knew was coming down the pipeline, man. I thought that, maybe my intuitions was off a little bit, but it looks like I was correct in this. It's definitely heard the news. Derrick Rose retiring from the NBA. Chi-Town's finest, Simeon High School, University of Memphis, #1 pick in the NBA draft by my Chicago Bulls. Youngest NBA player to win the MVP award in NBA history. And, I would definitely say this first and foremost. Derrick Rose is a throwback athlete, man. This guy, his work ethic and just ability to come in and just do his job, and not one of the what you call most diva or loudest athletes we've probably seen in the last few years in the sporting landscape. Definitely a humble guy, definitely a grateful guy, family guy. And I was a little saddened by this. I had the ability to watch Derrick Rose, being a fellow Chicagoan, since he was 14 years old, man. And I'll never forget, telling a friend of mine, after the first couple of times of watching him play, I said, yeah, man, this guy be an NBA All-Star, man, in 10 years. And he exceeded my expectations. Like I said, put the city of Chicago on his back from a sporting landscape is concerned. And definitely one of the best, basketball players to ever come out of the city of Chicago. A lot of people, especially from the guard level, we're talking about Isaiah Thomases of the world, Tim Hardaways of the world, Dwayne Wades of the world. I can go down a whole list. But definitely shout out to D Rose, man, and his family, man. I hope he's at peace with this decision. Definitely kind of hurt my heart to see that jump off. And another athlete that I think that it may be a farewell as well, as I heard news that Kawhi Leonard had another knee surgery after he stepped aside from the Olympic situation. Los Angeles Clippers saying that, he may not start the beginning of the regular season. And like most of you, I'm like, here we go again. Here we go again. And it's not a shot at Kawhi Leonard, personally. I think that this guy is a hard worker. He was my favorite NBA basketball player going back about 5 or 6 years ago. I just thought that, he's a hard hat guy, two-way player, turned himself into a great offensive player. Definitely one of the best defensive players we've seen in the NBA in the last 10 years, hands down. And, it was kind of sad hearing that news because I think we at the beginning of the end for Kawhi Leonard. I just think that at the end of the day, you can't just depend on a guy that's only able to give you 40 to 50 ball games a season. And the Los Angeles Clippers, they're moving into their new digs next season. Great building, by the way. Looks great. And they're at a turning point. We seen Paul George move on to the Philadelphia 76ers. And I'm not sure what we're going to see with the Los Angeles Clippers this season. I'm going to break down the whole NBA situation coming into this season with my NBA preview show. That definitely be coming down the pipeline for you guys. But definitely when I heard the Kawhi Leonard news, I said, man, here we go again. Here we go again. But also, something that caught my ear, caught my attention, is this whole situation at UNLV. And for those who, wasn't up on the whole story, starting quarterback Slooker for UNLV told the university to kick rocks. Now, in the day and age of name, image, and likeness, the NIL, there's a lot of college athletes that's just straight moving on to these schools and universities straight for the dough. And for me, I don't fault the players as far as, hey, you paying the dough, dude. You're willing to break me off. I'm willing to get on. Because I'm from the era where it really was no money, no NIL money. You had to get your money under the table. And I can't blame a young man that if he was promised that, hey, we're going to pay you $100,000 as according to him, as that's what the university, promised him. That's a lot of money for me and you. But, for the college landscape, you got college athletes out here making millions of dollars. And so a cool $100,000 to a big university in the city of Las Vegas, not a huge bag of money when you put it in perspective. But I don't blame Slooker at all for telling them to kick rocks. Now, I'm a team guy. This guy's starting quarterback. UNLV's finally been ranked for the first time, I believe, in school history. First time that they've been ranked. I think 24 in the AP poll. And he had the leverage. He absolutely had the leverage from a standpoint of, hey, look, dude, I'll just red shirt. I'll take my little bag with my little stick on the railroad, put it over the shoulder, and simply move on to another university where they're willing to break off a little bit bigger bag of coin, man. So I can't blame Slooker in this at all. Most of the posts and the people that I've been hearing as far as their take on the whole situation, the Paul Feinbaums of the world and so forth, they down with Slooker in his decision, and I'm down with it as well. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's big business. You promised me something. I got leverage as far as, I put out good film for the rest of these universities out here at a big university because he came from Holy Cross. So he put together a great 3-game stretch, got UNLV in a situation where they was ranked. Okay, I'm under 4 games, dude. I just red shirt, take my little bag with my stick down the railroad simply to another university, man. So shout out to him in that. WNBA, the playoffs jumped off. Caitlin Clark, 2-game deal and out for the playoffs as the Fever were eliminated. And her rookie season comes to a ceremonious end. Thought she had a great rookie season, especially with all the hoopla and all the scrutiny and just that whole situation with Caitlin Clark. Congratulations to her too, winning unanimous rookie of the year in the WNBA. I think that was obvious. And so the Fever, I think that they've put themselves in a good situation. They started off the season extremely slow. Then they picked up the pace and got themselves in a playoff situation. So shout out to them. definitely the future is bright in Indiana. The future is bright for Caitlin Clark. I thought that they definitely put up a competitive fight, but ended up losing, getting knocked out of the playoffs. So we'll get more in depth in that just in a little bit, just in regards to the WNBA playoffs. But definitely wanted to kick it off. And coming up, we're going to break down week number 4 in the National Football League. As well as, I got my Big 5 power rankings coming up across the NFL. Got that jumping off coming up real soon. So you guys sit back and relax and enjoy the rest of the show. We on 5 Sports Podcast Spot. Before I get into my Big 5 power rankings across the NFL as we go into week number 4, and before I preview the whole week number 4 slate, we got some breaking news out of the NBA. We got a huge trade, man, between the Minnesota Timberwolves and the New York Knicks. It appears that the Minnesota Timberwolves is trading Karl Anthony Towns to the New York Knicks for Julius Randle as well as Dante DiVincenzo. And this is a huge deal. Last time we seen Karl Anthony Towns, the Minnesota Timberwolves was making their trek across the Western Conference playoffs. And Karl Anthony Towns, he struggled. He struggled for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Obviously, Anthony Edwards is the franchise now in Minnesota. But the former number 1 pick from Minnesota a few years back out of the University of Kentucky, Karl Anthony Towns, being traded to the New York Knicks for Julius Randle. And man, my quick take on this whole situation, as I mentioned, Karl Anthony Towns, he struggled in the playoffs. He pretty much was a relegated 3-point shooter. Kind of hurt the Minnesota Timberwolves. They tried to make a stretch to the NBA Finals, fell up short. And like I said, Anthony Edwards, man, coming off of the Olympic run, he's obviously the face of the franchise for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And he gets an opportunity to go back home. Karl Anthony Towns across the river from New Jersey. And he gets to link up with the New York Knicks. And from the Knicks standpoint, Julius Randle moves on from the New York Knicks. Had a nice little situation in New York. Last year he got injured, missed the playoff run for the New York Knicks. And the Knicks felt like he was expendable at this point. And they traded him to the Minnesota Timberwolves. Man, for the Knicks, they trying to level up. A lot of people was critical of Leon Rose, the general manager of the New York Knicks, former NBA agent. But him and Tibbs, they made some magic last season. They made a nice little run. I think for the Knicks, I think it was much needed as far as a serviceable big man. And Karl Anthony Towns, this guy's a former All-NBA player, NBA All-Star. Hopefully him going back to the New York area can add a little spark to his game. I definitely think that for the Knicks standpoint, it gives them a little bit more leverage as they try to catch Boston in the Eastern Conference. And for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Randle is a good NBA player. Julius, unfortunately last season he got hurt right before the Knicks made their trek through the Eastern Conference playoffs. They fell up short getting to the NBA Finals. And like I said again, Leon Rose, man, trying to level up this franchise, try to get them in a more competitive situation, especially with the Bostons and the Philadelphias in the Eastern Conference. And man, this is a huge deal. I did not see this coming at all, but we'll see. We'll see what this thing do. Probably gonna get a little bit more in depth in this as I preview the NBA season coming up in the next couple of episodes. But man, we definitely had to spit game on that as it came across the desk. And now to my NFL Big 5 power rankings as we go into week number 4. At number 5, man, I got the Houston Texans coming in. They 2-1 on the season. This is a team that a lot of people have high hopes, especially down in the Houston area. I predict this team to get to the AFC Championship game this season. Like I said, they 2-1. They knocked off my Bears a couple weeks ago on the Sunday night slate. I think CJ Stroud has played B+ football. B- football so far for this organization. I think they definitely have some room to grow this season as they get through the schedule. And I got them coming in at number 5, man. Like I said, I think that they haven't played their best football yet, but still being 2-1 in that AFC South. And at number 4, man, this is a team that has gotten a lot of scrutiny. A couple weeks ago, against the Atlanta Falcons, they had a good golden opportunity to ice the game down and literally let it slip out their fingers. And they 2-1 on the season, man. We obviously got Devontae Smith out this Sunday against the Tampa Bay Bucks. Looks like A.J. Brown, he may be back in the fold for them. We'll see about that. They got a bye coming up after this week. But I think the Eagles, man, I think that at the end of the day, the NFC East is not what we thought it was as far as the Cowboys and the Commanders. And obviously the New York Giants has been struggling so far this season. I still think that the Eagles, even with all the talk around Nick Sirianni, I think this team can still win the NFC East and put themselves in a good position going into the playoffs. But I know we're a long way from that. So I got the Eagles coming in at number 4. At number 3, this is a team that's presently unbeaten. The team that's at the top of their division, a team coming into this season. They had high hopes with the rookie quarterback, J.J. McCarthy, coming in from the University of Michigan, fresh off a national championship. And we got the reemergence of Sam Darnold. Is he going to be this year's version of Baker Mayfield? We'll see. He's been playing some outstanding football. Man, got 8 touchdowns on the season so far. This defense is looking real good. I'm going to put some respect on Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, and Justin Jefferson doing Justin Jefferson things. Aaron Jones been playing some good football coming over from Green Bay. They take on Green Bay in Green Bay this weekend. I got a feeling that the Vikings can definitely go up into Green Bay and knock them off. I'm definitely going to spit game on that matchup coming up in the next segment. But, man, I like the Vikings and what they've been doing so far this season. We'll see if they're able to keep up the magic. And coming in at number 2, this one I'm going to say is kind of tough. And the reason I mention that is that this team is undefeated, 3-0 on the season. Definitely for me, I had some question marks about the offense of this team and the ability to recapture the AFC East. And I'm talking about the Buffalo Bills, man. Josh Allen has put on a Superman cape once again. He's been playing some outstanding football. This team has been able to run the football with James Cook. And so I'm liking what I'm seeing, man. Sean McDermott, there's been some criticism around Sean McDermott since he's been in Buffalo. But I think that he has the pulse of this football team, and they going out and handling their business. The offense looking more powerful than it did last season. And, man, I got the Bills coming in at number 2, man. They got a tough matchup, though, this weekend traveling down to Baltimore. So we'll see what that do with Buffalo. Definitely going to preview that game coming up in the next segment as well. And at number 1, this is what I call an oldie but goodie, man. 2-time defending champions. Kansas City Chiefs, they presently undefeated. And I ain't gonna front. Patrick Mahomes hadn't been playing his best football, man. 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Travis Kelce's been on a milk carton. I could have put the Buffalo Bills ahead of them. But I think, for me, I like what I'm seeing from the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that the offense will be able to get it together. Obviously they had Pacheco, going to IR. But, got Carson Steele, undrafted rookie, trying to hold it down. And we'll see about this team, man. I'm not sure if they'll be able to keep that number 1 spot, man, going into week number 5 in the NFL season. But they undefeated, man. They're the world champions, man. They've had some tough matchups, tough schedule matchups so far this season. Even though they've been playing ugly football, they still been able to pull out some victories so far this season, being 3-0. And so, man, that's my big 5 power rankings, man. And easily, this thing can shift to week, especially, too, because we're still very, very early in the season. But that's my look at my NFL big 5 power rankings. We on 5 Sports Podcast, The Spot. Welcome back. And we're going to get right into this thing, man. NFL week number 4. Week number 4 to me has always been interesting, especially over the last couple of years as teams have been holding out their big boy players during the preseason. So week number 4, you really kind of get the real vibe of NFL teams across the board. There's been some teams so far that's been riding high through the first couple of weeks during the NFL season. There's been some teams who started off slow. So we're going to get right into it, man. We had the Thursday night game with the Dallas Cowboys, able to handle that business at MetLife Stadium up in New York, 20-15 over the New York Giants. I thought the Cowboys just played well enough to win this football game. Dak Prescott had a mistake-free football game, had 2 touchdowns in this game. And I think that the Dallas Cowboys, I still don't trust this team's running game at all. Rico Dotto, he had 46 yards on the ground, but this team, man, they can't run the football. They can't stop the run, even though they did a good job on Devin Singletary in Thursday night football game. Daniel Jones had 281 yards, but no touchdowns and threw a pick. I mean, this is a guy, I've been saying it for the last couple of years. I still don't understand why the Giants paid him that big bag of money. To me, in my personal opinion, this guy is a backup quarterback in the National Football League. The one shining light, say for the New York Giants, was Malik Neighbors, had 115 yards. But looks like he sustained a concussion in this football game. Not sure his availability going into week number 5. And this team, man, we seen them doing the hard knocks offseason situation. To me, it lowered my confidence on this whole organization. And we'll see what they do, man. They dropped to 1-3 on the season. I didn't expect this team to make the playoffs no way this season. And it's not a shot at Giants fans. I mean, it's a very passionate fan base. With Brian Daboll, the head coach of the New York Giants, he got his hands full with this inept roster. And it showed on Thursday night football game. Dallas, they go to 2-2 on the season, 500 after the first 4 weeks of the season. And it's pretty much what I kind of expected from the Cowboys, because they never solved the situation with the running back. Obviously, they brought Zeke Elliott back in the fold, man. But I think Zeke, there's not a lot of tread on those tires, man. And so we'll see what the Cowboys do going into week number 5. But I came front, man. They was able to handle their business in a game that most people expected them to win. Then on Sunday, man, the 1 o'clock slate, we got, to me, one of the most underrated rivalries across the National Football League. We got the New Orleans Saints traveling to Atlanta to take on the Atlanta Falcons. Saints come in this game 2-1. Falcons come in this game 1-2. And to me, last week, the Saints, their offense fell off a cliff. The first 2 weeks of the season, this team was riding high with Derek Carr looking like the best quarterback in the National Football League, and he just fell off. The Eagles, credit to them, they played a good defensive game last week. They was able to shut down the New Orleans Saints. And this matchup with the Falcons, man, like I said, this is a divisional slate. And I just feel that the Atlanta Falcons, their defense, they're not putting pressure on opposing quarterbacks. I mean, that's just been the recipe for the Atlanta Falcons over the last 5 years. Atlanta comes in this game as basically a 2.5-point favorite. And I think we'll see that in this game. I think this is going to be a tight football game. I think it's basically going to be a one-possession game. And I think the Atlanta Falcons, they're able to hold serve at home. Kirk Cousins, it looks like he's finally getting the wheels kind of going since, he had the Achilles injury last season. And so we'll see. Alvin Kamara, not sure, if he'll be able to play in this game. Look like he's a little iffy in this one, especially for him, man. Homecoming from him. Coming from the outskirts of Atlanta, out in Norcross, Georgia. Got an opportunity to see this young man as well playing high school, man. So we'll see what it do, man. But I got the Falcons, man, winning this game in a one-possession game. And pretty much this thing going to go down to the fourth quarter. And then we transition up north, man, to a place that I've visited many of times. We got the Los Angeles Rams taking on my Chicago Bears. Both of these teams come in this game 1-2 on the season. The Bears had an opportunity last week to handle their business, but the offense started off slow. There's been a lot of talk about Caleb Williams. I think Caleb Williams will be fine. The Chicago Bears, they've not been able to run the football over the last 3 weeks. And I think in this football game, they do get an opportunity to run the football a little bit more. I think that the play calling will be a little bit better. I think the defense pretty much this season is held serve. The Bears come in this game as a 3-point favorite. I think that the Bears are able to knock off the Los Angeles Rams, who come in as the wounded organization right now, with Puka Nacua being out and Cooper Kupp being out. And Matt Stafford, man, he got a lot on his plate. I think that Sean McVay is one of the best head coaches in the National Football League, so I expect them to scheme up a little bit. We got Kyron Williams, who's been playing some good football. We got 4 touchdowns through the first 3 games of the season. And the Bears, they've been showing a little leaky on the run side. Jonathan Taylor, had a good game last week against Chicago Bears. 2 good runs in that football game. Got a chance to check that one out. But I do think that the Bears pulled this game out. I just think overall they're just the least hurt team. They're playing at home. I think the defense will hold serve. I think also, too, that the Bears, I don't believe they'll have, the turnovers they had last week against the Indianapolis Colts. And I got the Bears pulling this game out. I definitely think they'll be able to cover the spread as far as a field goal in this game, which is the point spread. And I think the Bears will be able to win this game, in my opinion, at least by a touchdown. Then we travel a little bit further north. We're going to stay in the NFC North, man. We got the Green Bay Packers taking on the Minnesota Vikings. Most people consider this a homecoming for Aaron Jones. And the Vikings been riding high this season, man. 3-0 on the year. Kevin O'Connell, the head coach of the Minnesota Vikings, has done an outstanding job with this unit. The defense has been playing very impressive. Sam Darnold's on the redemption tour so far this season, man. This man got 8 touchdowns and 2 interceptions on the season. I think they've been able to run the ball, obviously, with Aaron Jones. So far, Justin Jefferson has been as advertised. And I think in this one, even though it's a division matchup, we got Jordan Love coming back in the fray. Looks like he's going to be available in this game. But I think the Minnesota Vikings, I got them winning this game up in Lambeau Field and improving to 4-0 on the season. This is a spread of 3 points for Green Bay. Like I said, I think I got the Minnesota Vikings winning this game. I think they do win this game in a tough division battle, and I think it comes down to the fourth quarter in this football game, man. But I think I got the Minnesota Vikings improving to 4-0 on the season, man. Who would have thought that when the season began? Then we travel to Indianapolis, man. Naptown, Lucas Oil Stadium, as the Indianapolis Colts take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers, another surprising team that's 3-0 on the year. We got Justin Fields playing some good football for the Pittsburgh Steelers, simply not turning the football over. This defense is, as advertised, to me, one of the top 5 units I've seen so far during the season. And Mike Tomlin obviously doing Mike Tomlin things. Jalen Warren's going to be out in this football game, but I think they got enough firepower with Harris, to be able to run the football a little bit on the Indianapolis Colts. We got Anthony Richardson coming in this game with 3 touchdowns on the season and 6 interceptions. This guy's a turnover machine, outstanding raw talent. But I think once again in this game, I think he may lessen the turnovers down a little bit, but I think he's going to give Pittsburgh one, especially with that stout defense, man, with Watt. And TJ Watt has been one of the best defensive players in the last 2 years. And I think that they keep up the heat on the Indianapolis Colts. And I got the Pittsburgh Steelers, man, improving to 4-0 on the season. Then we travel to East Rutherford, New Jersey, as the New York Jets take on the Denver Broncos. The Jets 2-1 on the season. The Broncos come in 1-2 on the season. And Aaron Rodgers, he's playing some good football. I can kind of tell he's kicked some of the rust off. He's got 5 touchdowns and an interception coming in so far this season. I think they've been able to run the football with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. I do like that balance. I think that the Jets defense, to me, they still got something to prove. They got some, some good talent on that side of the football, but I don't think they played their best defensive game yet. The point spread in this game is 7.5 points. I think the Broncos do put up a good fight in this game. The Broncos, they've been okay so far this season. Bo Nix still hadn't thrown a touchdown for them, rookie quarterback for the Denver Broncos. And Sean Payton, I think he's going to have this team motivated. I think, to me, it may be a close game in the first half, but I got the Jets pulling away in this thing. I do think they cover the point spread in this football game. Like I said, spread is 7.5 points. I think the Jets win this game by at least 10 points in this one. And we'll see what it do, man. I got the Jets improving to 3-1 on the season in that AFC East. Then we got a rematch of the NFC wildcard game down in Tampa last season as the Philadelphia Eagles travel back into Tampa to take on the Tampa Bay Bucks. Both these teams come in at 2-1 on the season. The Bucks started off 2-0 on the season. They playing impressive football. Last week they dropped the dud. And the Eagles, they got some injuries, man. We got A.J. Brown questionable for this game. Devontae Smith has already been ruled out. Jalen Hurts, he's been playing okay so far. A few too many turnovers for my liking. But I think that the Eagles is highly motivated. There's been a lot of talk around Philadelphia with Nick Sirianni, the head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagle fans are not happy, but I'm gonna keep it 100, man. If I would have told you 2-1 going through the third week of the season, and you got an opportunity to knock off the Tampa Bay Bucks at home, a place where you guys' season ended last year, I think the Eagles win this football game. I do think this game is going to be extremely close. And I also feel that whoever wins the turnover battle in this football game wins this game. Saquon Barkley has been a cyborg so far this season, looking like the best running back in the National Football League. I think Baker Mayfield has a better game than he had last week, but I got Philadelphia pulling this game out. And like I said, it's going to be, to me, a battle with the turnovers. Philadelphia, a 2-point favorite in this football game. I think this pretty much going to be about a field goal situation. And so we'll see what it do, man. I think the Eagles will improve to 3-1 on the season. Maybe they're able to quiet some of that loud noise up in Philadelphia, man, with Nick Sirianni. Then we got a team that is winless. A team that has not won a game so far this season. And I'm talking about the Cincinnati Bengals as they travel into Charlotte to take on the Carolina Panthers. And I'm not going to front. From an offensive side, I think the Bengals have finally turned the page. They started off slow in the first game of the season, but Joe Burrow has picked up the pace so far this season for the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase looking like Jamar Chase. They just got T. Higgins back in the fold. They've been able to run the ball a little bit. But one question mark about the Cincinnati Bengals is the defensive unit of this team. They looked terrible last week against the Washington Commanders, losing on Monday Night Football. For the Carolina Panthers, man, it's really about the red rifle, man. Andy Dalton, he's came in and got this offense looking like a real offense. Last week, they almost put up a 40-piece. I do think that this offense going to score some points in this game because I just think that Cincinnati's defense is not up to snuff. But I got the Cincinnati Bengals winning this football game. So point spread on this one, man, is 4.5 points. And I think that the Bengals will be able to cover that spread on the road. I think that also, too, you may see a little bit more of the running game from the Cincinnati Bengals because I think they'll be able to get the lead in the first half of this football game. And I do think that the defense will play better, even though it's the Carolina Panthers. I think that the Cincinnati Bengals defense will play a little better in this tilt. And I got them winning their first game of the season up in Charlotte. Then we got an AFC South matchup. Another team and organization that's winless on the season, the Jacksonville Jaguars, travel to Houston to take on the Houston Texans, who's 2-1 on the season. Jacksonville, man, it's just not been real good so far this season. It's Trevor Lawrence. He has not been up to snuff. You know, they broke him off with a big bag of money during the offseason, and he has not been playing well at all. Doug Peterson. Looks like, man, they're circling the wagons for Doug Peterson. The interesting thing about the Jacksonville Jaguars, they never fired a coach midway through in the season. And so this might be the first time in this organization that they do so. Houston basically is a touchdown favorite, 6-point favorite in this game. C.J. Stroud, to me, has been playing B- football so far. I think he has a better outing against the Jacksonville Jaguars, another defensive unit that has not been playing well at all. And a lot of people put the onus on Trevor Lawrence, but I think this defense has definitely let them down as well. They haven't been able to run the football, and I think that the Houston Texans win this football game. And like I said, I do think they cover that spread of 6 points, man, down in H-Town. Then we got the Washington Commanders, man, fresh off a tilt that they knocked off the Cincinnati Bengals on Monday Night Football. They come into this week 2-1. They travel out to Glendale, Arizona to take on the Arizona Cardinals, who are 1-2 on the season. You know, the talk of the NFL last week was Jaden Daniels. He had an outstanding game against the Cincinnati Bengals. And this is the real litmus test, especially for a young quarterback, a rookie quarterback, man, traveling on the road after a big victory. And I got a feeling that the Commanders are going to have a letdown against the Arizona Cardinals. Kyler Murray, man, to me, he's one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks in the National Football League. One week he looks outstanding. The next week he looks like he a dud. And Marvin Harrison Jr. looks like he is advertised as Arizona's 3.5-point favorites at home in this football game. And I think they do just enough to knock off the Washington Commanders. And, you know, for them, talking about Arizona, I think the litmus test of this football game is going to be if Arizona can be able to get some ground game going, man, with James Conner. I think if they're able to do that, limit the turnovers, I think they'll be able to knock off the Washington Commanders. But I wouldn't be surprised, man, if the Commanders travel out to Glendale and handle their business. But I got the Cardinals in this football game. Then we got another slate And obviously this game is in the afternoon, 4:05 Eastern on Fox. We got the New England Patriots taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers is my pick to win the Super Bowl this season. They 1-2 on the year. They've been having hella injuries, man, from Christian McCaffrey, and Kittle been out, and Debo been out. And Jennings, the receiver for the San Francisco 49ers, looked like Jerry Rice Jr. last year, man. Last week. He was just putting in work, had $175 and 3 touchdowns last week. I think he simmers down a little bit. Word on the street is George Kittle more likely is going to play in this football game. Jordan Mason's been able to hold the fort down with CMC being out. And I think the 49ers be able to knock off the Patriots. Ironically, the Niners are 10-point favorites in this football game. They playing at home. I think the Patriots, they still on rebuild mode. Jacoby Brissett he didn't even throw 100 yards last week. I think he throws for over 100 yards, but I think this offense is inept. We all know San Francisco got one of the most stout defensive units across the National Football League, and I think they simply hold serve, and they get to 500 at 2-2 on the year for the Niners. Then we got two teams that, to me, I'm not sure what's cracking this year. We got the Cleveland Browns traveling out to Las Vegas to take on the Las Vegas Raiders. Cleveland Browns is all about Deshaun Watson. Not been playing well at all. This team hasn't really been able to run the football as expected so far during the year. Deshaun, we seen him with the interview talking about, man, he's not a running back, but bro, when you're making $270+ million guaranteed, even though the Cleveland Browns restructured that deal just a little bit during this season, you got to do what's needed, man, to win football games. I think this guy is simply a shell of himself. He's fell straight off a cliff. Ironically, the Raiders are a 2.5-point favorite in this football game. They had some questions at quarterback as well regarding Minshew. Word on the street is they thinking about benching this guy. But for me, I think that they should hold serve regarding Minshew. On the season so far, he got 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. And that's typical Gardner Minshew, man. For every great week this guy has, he has dud weeks. And that's what it do with the Raiders. They haven't been able to run the football as well on the ground. Zamir White has been a straight disappointment for the Las Vegas Raiders. And this one, I call this a pick'em game, straight up. Because it really just depends on, 1, who don't make mistakes in this football game, and also 2, who gets the advantage in the run game. And so with that being said, I got the Las Vegas Raiders winning at home, man. Especially in these pickles, man. I'm going to just default with the home team in this football game. I don't have confidence in either of these football teams moving forward. But we'll see what it do. You never know across the NFL, man. You never know. Then we got another tilt. 4:25 Eastern. We got Kansas City Chiefs traveling out to Chargerland to take on the Los Angeles Chargers out SoFi Stadium. The Chiefs undefeated. We all know 2-time defending world champions Patrick Mahomes hadn't played well this season, man. I'm going to keep it 100. 5 touchdowns and 4 interceptions on the season. Travis Kelce has been on a straight milk carton. But the defense is really the power dynamic for the Kansas City Chiefs. I just think that from the Chargers' perspective, with Justin Herbert being nicked up, I just think that they're going to ratchet up the defense in this one. Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, I think he got a game plan in place. I will shout out, though, J.K. Dobbins, man. He's been living his best life through the first 3 weeks of the season. I do think that the Kansas City Chiefs are able to stifle that run game. Surprisingly, the Chiefs is only a touchdown favorite in this football game. Harbaugh, he's going to try to scheme up, try to slim this game down. But to me, if you're not able to run the football, I just don't think that they have enough firepower to knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. I got the Chiefs moving on in this one. And then we got this team. To me, they've been playing the best football across the National Football League through the first 3 weeks. We got the Buffalo Bills traveling to Baltimore to take on the Baltimore Ravens. Like I said, it's Sunday Night Football. I can't wait for this. And I ain't going to front, man. The first couple of weeks of the season, these Sunday Night Football matchups have been some real good matchups. And for this one, this is a tough one for me. I had some question marks on the Bills as far as the offense is concerned coming into the season. Obviously, they lost Diggs as well as Gabe Davis during the offseason. And Josh Allen is straight put on the cape. He's been, Superman in the flesh for this organization. To me, he's the front runner for the MVP award so far this season. The Ravens have started off a little slow, 1-2 on the season. They got their first victory last week, and I think they keep it up, man. Even though I think the point spread on this one is going to be about 2.5. I think that Baltimore is able to cover at home. I think Lamar Jackson, he's been playing some good football, and they finally been able to run the football is what we've known from the Baltimore Ravens, especially with Derrick Henry having a $150 on the ground last week. I do think they're able to run the ball a little bit in this one. I think that Lamar Jackson will be able to spread the ball around just a little bit on the Buffalo Bills. This one is going to be a tight one. And I got a prediction, man. I think that this is going to be the best game of the week. And I think that the Ravens, they'll be able to hold serve at home, get to 500. And I think the Bills are going to suffer their first loss on the road in the AFC. And then we got the Monday night doubleheader. This is the second week of the Monday night doubleheader. We on Fire Sports Podcast, the spot. We love the National Football League, but I'm not sure if I'm a fan of these doubleheader Monday night football games, man. Just let America just focus on one game on Monday night, man, especially coming off the weekend with the full slate. But with that being said, the first game, we got the Tennessee Titans. They traveled down to Miami to take on the Miami Dolphins. The Titans, another team that's winless on the year, 0-3. Will Levis has been a turnover machine, 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions on the season for him. I mean, straight bonehead turnovers for him. The Dolphins, man, it's life without Tua, and their offense looked very inept last week. I mean, they just couldn't get nothing going. They couldn't get the ground game going. They couldn't get the run game going. I mean, this defense to me is kind of mid-tier anyway, and I got the Titans winning this football game. This is a pick 'em too, man. Miami is a 1-point favorite. That means that Vegas has no clue who's going to win this football game. But I do think the Titans are able to win this football game. I just think that at the end of the day, the Titans, they have some good offensive pieces. I think Pollard has played, pretty good this season. And I just think that Calvin Ridley, it's time for him to get off that milk carton. But part of that, man, has really just been Will Levis still trying to kind of find his footing as a starting quarterback in the National Football League. I think that the Titans win this game in an ugly football game. And so, like I said, Vegas got them as a pick'em, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Titans in this one. And then we got the other Monday night football game. I know most of America probably going to be checking this one out. We got the Seattle Seahawks, another undefeated team coming in at 3-0 against the Detroit Lions. And I've been impressed by the Seattle Seahawks. They've been doing a great job as far as spreading the ball around. Geno Smith, he's not a world beater. In the last couple years, especially the year before last, he was living his best life on his redemption tour. Last year, he kind of came down a little bit. But I think at the end of the day, he does just enough to have Seattle, be 3-0 so far in this season. We got Zach Charbonnet. He's been running the football pretty good in lieu of Kenneth Walker III being out. And Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions, man, like I said, they 2-1 on the year. This game's played at Ford Field. The Lions come in the favorite in this game by 3.5 points. And I just think that the Lions do just enough to win this football game. I think that, especially for them with Jared Goff, I think he hadn't played his best football so far this season. I think he improves on that. I think the Lions will be able to run the football against the Seattle Seahawks with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. St. Brown, I think he's going to have a good game. Obviously, on the other side, you got DK Metcalf, who's been a cyborg so far this season. Got 2 TDs on the year, 2 long touchdown passes as well. And so I think that this will be a good offensive game. I think it'll be a good game to watch. But I got the Detroit Lions being able to hold serve at the crib. I think they improve to 3-1 on the season and give Seattle their first L on the year. So that's my look across week number 4 in the National Football League. It's been the first month of the season, kind of capping that off. And like I said earlier, I think it's going to be a week that we really see a good offensive uptick across the National Football League. And hope you guys, man, have a great weekend. I know my people that have been down in the Southeast, they've been suffering that whole hurricane situation. I'm in the Southeast myself, so definitely been seeing the remnants of that. And so, once again, man, I appreciate all the love and the feedback. I appreciate you. Yeah. We on Fire Sports Podcast, the spot.